Welcome, everyone, to the Best of Markham podcast, brought to you by me, Igor Klibanov from FitnessSolutionsPlus.ca, your personal trainers for chronic conditions. Here with me today is John Yip. John, thank you so much for being here. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Igor. I want to celebrate Markham and everything it has to offer. So I'm president and CEO of SC Health, better known as St. Elizabeth Healthcare. We've been around for over 117 years in the Greater Toronto area. We make our headquarters in Markham. We have over 8,000 staff across the country, and we provide healthcare services to 25,000 Canadians every day across the country.
Wow, impressive. So that's a very long history. Obviously, you're not the founder, too young to be the founder. How did you get to be, I guess, the head of SE Healthcare?
I've been in healthcare all my career. It's been 30 years working in healthcare, first in the consulting firms, then in government, and then in another smaller not-for-profit in downtown Toronto before this opportunity came up. And I always envied SE Health as a thought leader, as a catalyst for change, as a healthcare multiplier in the sense that whatever we did, it was amplified at least 10x. And I was always a fan, and to get the opportunity to work with 8,000 compassionate, kind individuals, it really, really resonated with me. So I worked hard to impress the board and secure this job. And so I've been in this role now for 3 years.
That's awesome. Congratulations. What do you like most about your work?
Well, every day, as I mentioned, we service 25,000 Canadians.
Yeah.
And I don't think about the number, I think about every Canadian and having an impact on their lives, whether it be helping them walk, uh, putting together a meal so they can eat while they recover, taking them out for a walk and providing that accompaniment,
Right.
or if they're dying, holding their hand and giving them some comfort that they're not dying alone. So it's those small moments that add up that amplify that impact and makes me very proud of the work that our team does day in, day out to provide that impact. Although it might be small, the implications are profound as they extend beyond that individual to their families and the communities that they live in.
Oh yeah, 100%. Whenever you work with one person, you're also working with everybody that person's in touch with, like their family, with their friends, past coworkers and so on. So it must be very fulfilling for both you and your team.
Yeah, no problems getting out of bed. So every day it's what are we going to do to amplify our impact? What are we going to do differently to provide more access to healthcare services in this country? And that gets me going. So I don't need any other reason to get the day going than to serve for our 8,000 staff, but also all the Canadians we serve across the country.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, of course, you're the president and CEO, so there's an element of entrepreneurship there. What do you like most about entrepreneurship?
Well, I am an entrepreneur, and so St. Elizabeth is a social enterprise. So that combines the best of social entrepreneurship and impact. The two aren't mutually exclusive. In fact, they work quite well together. And so taking the best out of business world and entrepreneurs that we read about, like I was going to say Elon Musk, but maybe I shouldn't say Elon Musk before he took his past position with the US government. But just people who are thinking out of the box, thinking differently to improve the lives of the people they touch, and combining that with a very structured and unstructured business approach is something that really interests me. There are no rules to follow. It's the rules that we make on our own to drive that change. And so we do follow this mantra that the sisters who founded our organization 117 years ago, they have this phrase. It's called no mission, no margin, or no margin, no mission. the
Hmm.
sense that in order to fulfill our social mission, we need to generate a financial margin. And so, as a not for profit, we are very interested in making a profit. But the difference is the profit doesn't go to me, doesn't go to our board, either a volunteer board. We're not for profits. We don't have shareholders. So the profits we make get redirected into providing services for those who are structurally vulnerable, those that are homeless, those that are dying, those that don't have the capacity or the competence to access and navigate our complex healthcare system. And I think that part of the entrepreneurial spirit lives not just with me, but with the entire organization throughout its history.
Yeah, yeah, and I hear that. One of my other guests that I interviewed, I guess probably about a month ago, the Varley Art Gallery. Also, this is a government organization
Mhm.
here in Markham, and also not for profit. And yet, when I asked him about, well, how do they generate revenue, it was actually more impressive than a lot of for-profit businesses. But yeah, just like many not-for-profits, they have to generate revenue or profit in order to keep them going. Um, so very interesting to hear. Speaking of which, like the way revenue is generated, the way profit is generated is with marketing. So what do you and your team do for marketing? How do you guys get new clients?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. We don't actually market since the bulk of our revenue does come from government funded services. So we compete on contracts to provide those services. But the ones where we don't have government funded contracts, we do rely on strategic partnerships that uh, allow us to enter different types of market segments in within the healthcare space. And one example is our partnership with Green Shield. And Green Shield is a not-for-profit insurance company. And I think Canadians have a certain perception of what insurance companies are. But when you partner with another not-for-profit, there's a values alignment about serving Canadians. And so we've worked together to create a new segment, and that's a caregiver benefit that really drives to support double duty caregivers. That's people who work all day to service others, and then they go home, they have to take care of a sick loved one, and they just don't have the energy to do that. So this gives them a little bit of a respite and allows some support for their loved one to get the care they need. And it's that type of partnership that introduces new market segments that allows us to market ourselves without the traditional advertising or Facebook ads or Google ads in that traditional way. And I think it's our impact that speaks for the work that we do. And partners help amplify that.
Yeah, the partnerships are extremely underrated method because they're not visible, except for to clients. So they're not visible to people who are just searching online. For example, I have great partnerships with dietitians, with naturopathic doctors, and I'm definitely a for-profit business. But if you look at my online activities, you'd never know about my partnerships. You'd know about my books. You'd know about my social media stuff, which when people look at it, they just see what I post. They have no idea if it generates revenue or profit. Um, but it's partnerships with things like clinics, RDs, NDs, etc. Those are the ones that often result in growth and profit and revenue. So yeah, I totally get that. It works for both profit and not for profit. Now, what are you working on right now that's exciting to you?
Oh boy, we just had our board meeting last week where we covered a wide range of interesting things. But I'll go back to the Green Shield example because I've mentioned it. And I want to be able to expand the offering of caregiver benefit, not just for our own staff, but for the staff across all of the healthcare providers across the country. I think this is something that we overlooked coming out of the pandemic, that our healthcare professionals and healthcare workers are tired, they're exhausted. And we forget that 1 in 3 Canadians are caregivers. They have a sick parent, a sick grandparent, a sick child, or a sick spouse. And they just don't have the energy to be able to manage their care while maintaining a full-time job. So we know that this is an issue and it's systemic across the country. And so part of our work that I find just fascinating is how do you grow that segment with Green Shield? with other insurance companies to be able to provide that service at scale so that other workers can benefit and to get that respite that they need.
Yeah, yeah, it's a very altruistic approach, which is like again why you have no problems getting up in the morning. Makes sense. Speaking of which, what obstacles have you encountered in your time with SE Health?
Well, I think there is a certain inertia when you join an organization that's 117 years old. And
Yeah.
during my interview with the board, I talked about from an outsider's perspective that the organization has great heart, solid bones, but could use a Mediterranean diet of sorts, just to clean out the bad cholesterol. And that's not unusual for an organization this size and of this history. And so moving an organization this size, just 1 degree, like just a little bit of a shift, it takes enormous inertia
Hmm.
to push that 1%. And it requires a different mindset. It requires significant change management to educate our well-intended staff and passionate staff that change is good. Change should be welcomed, and change in this uncertain environment that we live in today is a necessity. And we need to be able to adapt to that uncertain future. So some of the barriers are is that really how much pressure do you put on the organization to make that 1 degree change or 2 degree change? And what is some of the collateral effects that happen as a result and be able to manage it in a way that is still values aligned and still aligned with our strategic vision?
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally get that. I've often the bigger and older an organization is, the harder it is to make change. That's the pros and cons of small businesses. If it's a one person operation, change is easy. The owner founder decides it's time to make a change right away. Nobody to consult, no history to undo. But with a large old organization, then yeah, it's more difficult. But also more impactful is when the change does happen. I think they say that if an airplane is flying from here to Asia, a 1 degree change makes them end up somewhere completely different. About a 1 degree change, in the next room, you just one step off. So yeah, I totally get that. Now, you're obviously a busy guy. You have very little free time, but in the little free time you do have, what do you do?
Well, I've got 2 kids, 17-year-old and 13-year-old, and those parents out there will know it's a busy time. So there's that. But I'm also a weekend warrior of sorts. So I do triathlons. I just competed in the iconic Escape from Alcatraz race in San Francisco a couple of weeks ago.
Holy moly.
And that, and then this past Christmas, this past December, I was in New Zealand to compete in the half Ironman World Championships. So it is something that's always been part of my lifestyle since a kid, all the way through adulthood. It's difficult to carve out time, which is why I'm up very early. This morning, I actually swam at Cherry Beach
Yeah,
just to get my morning swim in, given the heat wave. It was really cold. The water's really cold. So, hey, if you want to cool off, jump in the lake.
yeah.
Um, but another side project that I've been working on for the past 5 years, actually started during the pandemic, is to run every single street in the city.
Whoa.
So I've completed the original old city of Toronto,
Yeah.
um, 98%, and I'm missing some little segments, but it takes too much time in the traffic to get to these areas to run those streets. And for the listeners in Markham, I've just by virtue of our offices being in Markham, I have run maybe about 8% of Markham. Markham is quite big, and again, it's just a big time commitment to get to each spot. So for a long time, what I wanted to do was keep it carbon neutral. So I would ride my bike to every location, lock my bike up, run around a section, or take public transit just to avoid sitting in the car and driving everywhere until my bike got stolen, not once, but twice.
Jeez.
So unfortunately now I have to drive and I'm a little bit short on time. So I'm so close to finishing the old city of Toronto. pre-amalgamated city.
Yeah.
And I know it's like four runs and I'm done, but it's hard to get to. So that's what I do on the side.
I think that Weekend Warrior and triathlete are mutually exclusive. The amount of training you got to put in more than just weekends. That's a lot of training.
I'm up early in the mornings.
Yeah, yeah, obviously. Good for you. That's amazing. And since this is, after all, a Best of Markham podcast, what's your favorite business in Markham besides SE Health?
You know, Markham is so diverse. And one of my favorite things, besides running and triathlons, is eating. You got to fuel the body. And Markham, I think, has the best international cuisine in the world. A short stone's throw away from our head office is at Allstate Parkway.
Yeah.
I can go in either direction and get the best Asian cuisine, the best Indian food, Italian food, and recently went to a couple of really amazing restaurants by the New York University Medical School off of Highway 7.
Yeah.
Pears, a little shout out to me. Do you know it?
I interviewed Keith on my podcast a couple months ago.
Amazing, amazing food. And you wouldn't equate Markham as being the culinary center of the GTA, but it really is. And you can get things like, ramen, just a quick bowl here. Best food court is First Markham Place.
Yeah.
Amazing food court, $15. Best barbecue, Hong Kong style, or the best Malay curry in the corner at the stall there. So, love Markham food.
I couldn't agree with you more on that. A bunch of my favorite restaurants are in Markham. So just shout out to Keith Bears. Yes, Pears and Glass Kitchen, two of my
You
favorite.
got it.
Uh,
Yeah.
two of my favorites. Just off of Allstate Parkway, Novita, the Italian place. Love that.
Love it. Love it. And just in that glass, sorry, what was it called? Glass garden? No,
Glass Kitchen.
glass kitchen. That, you know, you drive up, it's just another strip mall, right?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just another strip. But that mall has some of the best restaurants, Korean barbecue, like four bubble tea
Biggest
kiosks, but
six.
yeah, each offers something a little bit different. It's got a great bakery. You got Kinton Ramen on the corner. But I take my mother. My mother loves this. I think it is called China Dumpling or
Yeah.
China Dumpling House, as homemade dumplings, steamed,
Yeah.
like very, very home style, very affordable. My mother loves going there, so I take her there a couple times a month in that
100%.
same plaza.
For a long time. So back when Asian Legend was on that
Yeah,
plaza,
yes.
I love Xiaolongbao. For those who don't speak Cantonese, that's soup dumplings. Not to be confused, by the way, with dumpling soup. I learned the Chinese name so that people don't get confused. Um,
Oh, you're very progressive, very well informed, Igor.
well,
And just a pro tip, because parking is brutal at
yes,
that strip mall. There is underground parking. There
yes.
is underground parking, or on the back. If you can't find a spot, go around the back behind the glass kitchen. There are parking spots there. Pro tip. You heard it on this podcast.
100%. So that plaza is so good. When I interviewed Keith and asked him the same question, what's your favorite business in Markham? Besides, of course, Glass Kitchen. He actually said another restaurant on that plaza. He said, I think it was Chibop, the Korean.
Oh yeah, so good. Yeah, so good. I mean, there. And then you go across the street, there's a Chinese buffet, no, not Chinese, Japanese, sorry, Japanese barbecue buffet,
Yeah.
Shinta,
Yes.
across the street. You got great Chinese seafood, like all along Highway 7. I'm absolutely blown away. And I wish my days were free enough so I can go out to lunch every day and experience all the wonderful entrepreneurs and cuisine along Highway 7. I wish I could.
Yeah. I make it a mission to my with my wife to like once or twice per week explore the different restaurants that are around. Like even if I go to one restaurant, I want to go back to that restaurant many, many times because I want to try almost everything on the menu. But then there's not enough restaurants and there's too many restaurants and too many menu items. So I have to do like one new restaurant instead of the same restaurant many times.
Is this a Markham food podcast or what is this?
It could be.
It should be. I mean, the best of Markham does include restaurants, but if there were a second item is while there's huge development, like Markham's grown tremendously from farmland to massive development of new communities. Is I mentioned earlier, I ride my bike or do triathlons. I actually start in not too far from the office, and the roads in North Markham. I guess we'll include Stouffville too.
Yeah,
Markham Stouffville, the Broadly. There's still some untapped countryside that are beautiful rolling hills for cycling. And on the weekend, you'll see packs of cyclists go through Markham.
yeah,
Victoria Corners, I think that's Markham still at Elgin Mills and Woodbine
yeah,
is a great starting point. And so the athletic community, not to mention that I think some of the Maple Leafs live in Markham Unionville area or from that area,
yeah, yeah.
but cycling, you wouldn't equate Markham to being a mecca for cyclists, but it is.
Oh, 100%. I just did a 5K in Stouffville last weekend, last Saturday. And on the way there, I probably saw more cyclists than I did drivers.
Yeah. So I like the balance that Markham has, and a shout out to Mayor Scarpetti
Yeah,
for smart growth. Obviously, affordability is an issue for all Canadians, and Markham is a place where new Canadians can make their home. So balancing that growth, but also protecting green spaces for everyone to enjoy the beauty of what Markham has to offer. So I really applaud Mayor Scarpetti and Council for balancing both. It's not easy to do.
yeah, yeah. And on top of it all, a very, very likable guy. I mean, I've met him a bunch of times,
Great
and
guy.
yeah, fantastic guy. Been mayor since 2006, so we really love him over here. Well, John, thank you so much for the interview. How can our viewers and listeners get in touch with SE Health?
You can go on any of our socials, SC Health or SC underscore health, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and so on. And I'm also on LinkedIn primarily. So it's John Yip. And you can reach me there.
Awesome. Thank you so much.